Cabinet committees. The cabinet works through various committees. These committees are called as cabinet committees. The features, list, and functions of these committees are explained below. Features of cabinet committees. The following are the features of cabinet committees. They are extra constitutional in emergence. In other words, they are not mentioned in the constitution. However, the rules of business provide for their establishment. There are of two types, standing and ad hoc. The former are of a permanent nature while the latter are of a temporary nature. The ad hoc committees are constituted from time to time to deal with special problems. They are disbanded after their task is completed. For example, the emergency committee was set up in 1962 after the Chinese invasion. They are set up by the Prime Minister according to the exigencies of the time and requirements of the situation. Hence, their number, nomenclature, and composition varies from time to time. Their membership varies from one committee to another committee. They usually include only cabinet ministers. Sometimes the non-cabinet ministers can also be appointed as their members. Further, the non-cabinet ministers can also attend the meetings of the cabinet committees as special invitees. They not only include the ministers in charge of subjects covered by them, but also include other senior ministers. They are mostly headed by the Prime Minister. Sometimes other senior cabinet ministers also acts as their chairman. But in case the Prime Minister is a member of a committee, he or she invariably presides over it. They are not only sort out issues and formulate proposals for the consideration of the cabinet, but also take decisions. However, the cabinet can review their decisions. They are an organizational device to reduce the enormous workload of the cabinet. They also facilitate in-depth examination of policy issues and effective coordination. They are based on the principles of division of labor and effective delegation. List of cabinet committees. At present, the following 8 cabinet committees are functional: Cabinet Committee on Political Affairs, Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs, Appointment Committee of the Cabinet, Cabinet Committee on Parliamentary Affairs, Cabinet Committee on Security, Cabinet Committee on Accommodation, Cabinet Committee on Investment and Growth, Cabinet Committee on Employment and Skill Development. Functions of Cabinet Committees. The following are the functions of the Cabinet Committees. The Cabinet Committee on Political Affairs deal with all policy matters pertaining to domestic and foreign affairs. The Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs directs and coordinates the governmental activities in the economic sphere. The Appointments Committee of the Cabinet decides all higher level appointments in the Central Secretariat, public enterprises, banks, and financial institutions. The Cabinet Committee on Parliamentary Affairs looks after the progress of government business in the Parliament. The Cabinet Committee on Security deals with all issues relating to defense, law and order, internal security, and atomic energy. The Cabinet Committee on Accommodation deals with all issues relating the allotment of government accommodation to the members of Parliament, central government employees, and other persons and various organizations. The Cabinet Committee on Investment and Growth deals with all policy matters aimed at accelerating capital inflows, export promotion, import substitution, and improving ease of doing business. The Cabinet Committee on Employment and Skill Development deals with all issues relating to developing skills, enhancing employability of workforce, and increasing women workforce participation. Of all the Cabinet committees, the most powerful is the Political Affairs Committee, often described as a super cabinet. Members of group of ministers. In addition to cabinet committees, several groups of ministers are constituted to look into different issues or subjects. Some of these group of ministers are empowered to take decisions on behalf of the cabinet, whereas the other make recommendations to the cabinet. The institution of group of ministers has become a viable and effective instrument of coordination among the ministries. There are ad hoc bodies formed to give recommendations to the cabinet on certain emergent issues and critical problems areas. Ministers heading the concerned ministries are inducted into the relevant group of ministers and when the advice is crystallized, they are disbanded. The Second Administrative Reforms Commission of India 2005 to 9 made the following observations and recommendations with respect to the working of groups of ministers. The Commission observed that the constitution of a large number of groups of ministers has resulted in many groups of ministers not being able to meet regularly to complete their work, thus leading to significant delays on many major issues. The Commission felt that more selective use of the institution of groups of ministers would perhaps lead to more effective coordination, particularly if they are empowered to arrive at a decision on behalf of the cabinet with time limits that are prescribed for completing the work entrusted to them. The Commission recommended that there is need to ensure that the existing coordination mechanism of groups of ministers function effectively and helps in yearly resolution of issues. Selective but effective use of groups of ministers with clear mandate and prescribed time limits would be helpful.